Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone, to Beyond Hegemony. Oh, what happened there?
Sorry about that. Sorry about we had a remix, Trina. We had a remix.
No, I'm joking. No, welcome to Beyond Hegemony, Gary. I are here trying to bring some light to the mood, and but at the same time, keeping and honoring the space. Sahana chose to take a break today due to her emotional state about what's going on, and so we respected that. And I was gonna get on here by myself because I basically feel like raging personally, but I'm gonna keep it to a coherent medium. But I think some things need to be said, and yeah, and I want to use my power, my voice of change, because a lot of times what people don't understand is that this little voice box has power in it, and it's spiraling out to reverberate and to connect with other people, even more powerful than these eyes sometimes. So there's a reason why sound, frequency, and vibration are so impactful. And so often it is used against us without our knowledge or understanding that's what's happening. So, how are you, Gary?
Thanks for opening us up today, as always, Trina. I'm feeling. I first of all want to honor the rage you feel in your body, right? And I think it's valid. It's so quick in Western society, are we, to, particularly when you happen to have a black look, as my good friend Trina has, right? Nothing like a raging black woman, in the Western society. But guess what? Right. I've been a pretty ragey white man in Western society as well, to the point where I literally screamed top of my voice yesterday morning, just like, literally just went wild. My wife and I never have an altercation, ever. But we just found both of our vibrational states, our energy states, are just like, seriously? Like, are we going to do this again, people? And then that acknowledgement, Trina, of like, guess what? It's not Trina, Sahana, Gary, my wife, your son. Like, it's not the 99% of people, right?
Right.
And it's just another reminder as we witness the horror show that is Rafa at the moment, the horror show that is the Congo, the horror show that is West Papua. These are all interconnected and connected so-called conflicts, but they're not conflicts. They're oppressive acts by Western governments. And it's really important, people, we realize what's happening. Yes, I might get kept in relative comfort, Trina in her version of comfort, but in the end, if I'm feeling comfortable, it's because someone's got next to nothing or worse. Right. There has to be balance, right, Trina?
Right. And it's that colonial, and you said it, we talked about it a little bit off camera, it's the colonial mindset that is affecting us all, whether we're conscious of it or not. And that colonial mindset gives us the privilege to say, I'm just not going to look at the images anymore. I just don't want to see it. I don't want to deal with it. And while disempowering your ability to change it at the same time. It's kind of like, what do they always say? Denial is a river in Egypt. And it's not just a river in Egypt. And the problem with denying things is that you delay the necessary steps to heal and change. The more you deny something is there, or the more that you say, I don't want to look at this, I don't want to deal with this, the more you help perpetuate the problem. That's what we're doing. And so, I have felt myself a growing sense of rage and disdain whenever I see anything posted on any media platform other than what's happening in the world right now. I don't want to see another capitalistic cell. I don't want to see any other BS other than what are we doing to change this world right now? That's all. And I'm ready for a unified collective um, organization to make this start happening. I've been my brain has been going, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I get a collective together of like-minded people, even unlike-minded people, to just stop this mess?
What's so interesting for me, so there are, you are one of those people, right, with a polymathic mind, right? So you are actually doing that work already. This show, those watching us now, thank you if you are live or watching us back. Like, this was Trina's brainchild. And Trina and I found each other in the most random of ways as I was doing a solo episode about decolonizing the mind through listening. So it's as much for me. I think it is happening. We're seeing it. Mm-hmm. There are these groups, but as importantly, there are these individuals that want to move towards this discussion, but are terrified or paralyzed, or a combination of both. Mm-hmm. Whether it's CEO of an oil company, whether someone running a mindfulness institute, whether somebody working in the shop down the road. So I'm wondering to what extent, we talk about bridging quite a lot, right? And it's actually everything's. But what's the research? I think it was 3.5% of people going in the same direction can tip the system. It's not a crazy percentage. It's 3.5%. I'll try and dig out the research. Mm-hmm. But no, we're not talking about 10, 20 or 50. We're talking about 3.5. And I think from what I've witnessed the last 10 weeks, we're quickly getting to 1% of that 3.5%, Trina.
I think it's more than that. Honestly, I just don't think we've got too many barriers on social media. So I did Freudian slip. I was about to say sociopathic media that want us to stay in this one little bubble, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on Instagram, definitely Facebook. I can't even post anything on Facebook without it getting flagged. It is ridiculous. And it had, nothing to do with anything, but I still got flagged on some post that they considered to be misinformation, but it's not. It's already been proven to be true. So I honestly think it's more, but they won't let you see that it's more. Because I think one of the things that is kind of programmed in us is this need for collaboration, but there's such a deep fear of persecution because that's built into the system as well, that control. And so, yeah, I actually think it's more than 1%. I just think people need to get out of their state of fear about it. It looks like Gary's connection is faltering here. Hold on. You still there, Gary? Okay.
Gary, have you got me?
Gary, yeah, I got you now.
Okay, cool. Okay. It was very weird looking at myself with that still image, but thanks for your shares.
It's okay. It's okay.
Sociopathic media. I like that, by the way.
Well, I just recently wrote an article for Medium where I'm talking about the mechanics of all of this. And I think one of the things is that everything is purposely separated and segmented so that you can't figure out who's pulling the strings and why they're doing things in a particular way. And it's just kind of I call it the mechanics of hegemonic control, an expose of global oppression. And I start with poisoning the food supply. Best way to break down anything is to make people incoherent and unaware and disconnected from their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're ingesting a lot of poison, and purposefully created poison.
Could I invite you, Trina, to share a link to it in the chat so people can find it?
Sure. Let me get it here. There it is. I'll put the friend link up, even though I don't make any. It's my little trickling of pennies. Also, I still don't see the chat comments there on LinkedIn. I don't know why, but
No, I don't know
anyways.
either. Strange.
Yeah, it's so strange. It used to be populating, especially when we had people on the live, but it's not doing it now, so it's weird. But I'm talking about how it all kind of matriculates into where we are now, into our awakening of it, and how we're going to need to stop. And I think that was one of the things that we really vibed on when I kept saying we just need to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And that keeps reverberating in my mind, Gary, because what does stop mean? So in the article, I broke it down to stand together, oppose persecution. And I know we can stands for can, collectively awaken now. You know, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. There's so much of that in the colonized mind.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting. So I was sharing with Trina before we came live, everyone, that for those that may or may not know, I still work within a corporate space most of the time. And it's really interesting that some Western European customers in the global supply chain are now starting to ask questions and going, hey, actually, are the raw materials that I'm buying from you, do they come from an unjust supply chain?
Mm.
And what's really interesting, there is not a single supply chain on the planet that is not unjust.
Mm.
Which I think is really important thing for us to start to have without judgment, without shame, but just to realize, as Trina shares in this beautiful blog, like the iPhone the iPhone in our pockets, the cars that we drive, the glasses we're wearing, the clothes we're wearing, the food we're eating, there are costs to human beings and ecosystems in the global majority that are very rarely represented in the true externalized cost of the things we buy.
That's right.
And when I mean externalized, I mean the full, all-included cost. If you include biodiversity collapse, true cost to waterways, cost to our bodies, etc. And it's just the realization. And when we do realize that, and I think what's interesting, Trina, customers are starting to ask, and this goes well beyond the box tick to say you've got an ISO certification, badge, or the badge to say that you're more sustainable than the next company, badge.
Mm-hmm.
That's all okay. I get it. I'm not judging that per se. But what I am saying is, let's get real around the fact that every single element of a global supply chain, no matter where it comes from or on this planet, is causing harm somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And most of it is causing harm in the global south, or to 85% of the global majority, and not to the global minority, of which I'm part. And again, I'm not judging anybody with that. I'm just saying these are the facts, right, Trina? Like this is just reality.
Right. Yep. And here's the thing: all colonial slave derived countries have this issue. And because we have one country called the West, or I won't even call it the US, the West is a conglomerate
Mhm.
of psychopaths who believe in their ordained right to rule over other people. And we can go all the way back to antiquities and talk about the Sumerian tablets and talk about a lot of different, civilizations who basically had that psychopathy, and it's been perpetuated all the way through time, from in the Roman Empire and now, because I think now is the time where the Roman Empire is actually falling. We thought it did before, but they just kind of hid in the shadows and changed their names in mass. So, but this cycle of oppressive, violent uh, imperialism is built into the very fabric of our existence. And so a lot of people, I think, are just afraid to know an alternative. Like, what would I have to give up? Well, you're going to have to give up something. You're probably going to have to give up getting a new cell phone every single year and drinking that consumerism Kool-Aid. You're going to have to give it up. You're going to have to probably give up the ideal of your superiority over somebody else, because you haven't recognized that it's been built into you because you feel like crap about yourself, you know? Oh, my phone's ringing. I don't know who that is. Hold on. Be right back.
I actually thought, I'll hold space for a second. I thought that was actually
Hello?
Trina's son
Hello.
whistling, which is pretty cool.
Are you here?
Just to continue this for a moment while Trina
Send you the
comes
code.
back, I
Okay.
think what's particularly important right now, and I'm doing a lot of work myself, both personally but also within the sector that I'm part of, the extractive industries, is that we can ask more searching questions. We can ask and follow the money. The organizations that we work for, the organizations that we serve, if we're consultants or external partners, like, where does the source of funding come from if you follow that right the way back? Now, of course, everything will go right the way back to
Okay.
financial services. Everything will go right the way back towards multinational companies. It will go back to high net worth individuals. I was just saying, Trina, my invitation is for anyone that's watching or watching back is what we can do in this situation, because we do have to survive within a currently capitalist system. Like, we do have roofs to put overhead, we do have food put on the table, etc. But how we do that, how we embody and gesture towards something very different, is the opportunity, I believe, which is we can still ask curious questions of power holders, stakeholders. Where's our money come from? How do I get my salary paid? What are the interconnections of the supply chains that I work within? Whether you work in a shop, you might sell photocopiers, you might sell consumer goods somewhere, but just get really, really curious around what are the supply chains that sit behind what you do as a job. You could be a nurse, but just get really curious around how do the things end up in your hand and your mouth around your body, and where might they originate, and what questions can you be curious about to say, hey, what are the steps behind this that go right the way back to who invests in this, who produces this, where's the raw material come from? It just gets super curious. And the more that we do,
Absolutely.
the more that we can start to have a different type of conversation and reimagine. I really believe that, Trina.
I 1000%. And for those who are holding on to their ego, get real bougie with it. But get bougie, in a way that actually helps the environment and the society and everybody else. Change that luxury mindset that you've been fed about the quality of things, and get it to a place of responsibility, sustainability responsibility for cultures, for the planet. Stop making it about me in that sense. Take your cognitive dissonance and at least flip it for the positive for society. You know what I mean? Do your mental gymnastics in a different way, because quite frankly, I'm exhausted by this conversation, with people about being uncomfortable. But the truth is that discomfort is the only place where healing begins. There's no other place. Everybody, no matter where you are in your economical, social, cultural way, the only way healing starts is with the discomfort that comes from you just can't stand yourself anymore.
Oh, Jason, I'd love to build on that, Trina, and just say, and again, it's continuous work, right? Nobody
Absolutely.
outside of you, nothing outside of you is going to change the world outside for you.
That's
Right.
right.
Like healing is a deeply individual but also collective act. And to do
That's right.
both is incredibly powerful. It's definitely been my experience anyways, the individual and the collective. Don't do it on your own, because that is where we go into paralysis and just get stuck.
Yeah, some of us. I would say that my healing journey has been absolutely on my own.
No, interesting. Okay.
And here's the interesting part is that this has been me since I was a little kid. Fundamentally knowing that something is wrong, fundamentally knowing that people are trying to force me into being someone or something that I am not, and that I'm more than that, and just fighting with the world in a sense to say I'm fine the way I am. Maybe it's my ADD mind, but I have always had somebody trying to change me and make me into their version of what makes them comfortable. Now, if I was doing things to make people uncomfortable, it'd be a different story. That's not how I flow. I flow in just trying to be light. But when you live in such a society that's full of so much darkness and accepted that darkness and accepted that darkness as normal, it can be very uncomfortable. So I was asking myself, and I'm so grateful to Gary. I'm grateful, Sahana. I'm grateful to the few handful of people that I have in my life for affirming that I'm okay. I'm not, I've never gone out of my life, hurt another human being. You know what I mean? Except for maybe a few mosquitoes. I'm trying to keep my energy level, but that can make people at a different resonance really uncomfortable. And that's when I always go back to that mind, body, spirit alignment, because that mind, body, spirit alignment is what makes life worth living. If you're not aligned in the way your thought patterns, you're not aware of them. If you're eating garbage food, which I don't blame you. I got sucked into the Carl's Jr. and a bunch of other crap food when I was younger because the people who raised me didn't know better, that breast milk was better than Similac. I'm not shaming people who can't breastfeed, but I'm just saying it is. There's all kinds of things that are cycled in a certain way in order for us to blossom. But we have had this force pushing us down. And then, so I've been going like this my whole life in the womb. No.
Your poor mother must have been like bruised to pieces by the time you entered the world, Trina.
I always told her that if you breastfed me, it would probably be less problems.
I love it. I love it. Excuse me looking down just now. I was just wanting to check because it says LinkedIn user, but it's actually Austin. I just wanted to say, Austin, thanks for joining us. And what a great comment.
Thanks.
What a great comment he shared here.
What did he say? My grandma used to say, if we don't talk about it, we only have. Exactly. Exactly. This whole mindset of fear. And I want people to know, if you're one of those people who keeps saying that I just can't, or I can't see the pictures. I get that. I'm not looking at the pictures either. But if you're not acknowledging it's happening and you're trying to go la la land someplace else, you really are a part of the problem. I hate to tell you this. You're not murdering anybody. You're not, but your complicity and your complacency is not contributing to the change. You know, that stop, that word stop means stop buying the resources, like Gary was saying. Be very, very curious and rebellious about where you contribute your dollars. Stop being afraid to speak, because we almost didn't do today. Okay. Because there was a part of both of us that just was hurting so much. And we said, no, that's what they want. No, I'm not giving them the pleasure of stopping my power, which is my voice. It may seem like nothing, but if we all reverberate and there's all these studies. You ever see those meditation studies, Gary?
Yeah, absolutely. And heart math and things like this, really interesting. Really, really. Yeah. I think I heard something that those studies, the heart is 5,000 times more powerful than the brain.
That's right. It's called neural sensory. We have neural sensories in our heart. And we also have it in our gut too. That's why mind, body, spirit. They knew this. They knew that if you corrupt the gut flora, our brain there messes with our heart and our brain on the top of our head. So that's why you must do this alignment. This is why it's my focus in my practice and what I do. And sometimes people have a really hard time. The hardest part is changing what you eat. Because they've invested so many billions of dollars in giving food flavor profiles that are non-existent, that trick the body, that trick the pleasure sensors in our brain, that triple or pick up serotonin and dopamine. But if you were connected to if you were connected to your spiritually, yourself, your own divinity, you would taste that food like I do now and go, yuck, this is disgusting. Or recognize all you're tasting is salt, sugar, or some sour citric acid or something they put in it. But that's all.
I'd love to bring this to life, just very briefly, if I may. It's so powerful what you're sharing. And I'm like saying, I've written before about Western addiction, because full disclosure, soft drinks are still something I have issues with. I stopped drinking them for months and then I fall back onto them because exactly what Trina's described, right? Partly consumer culture, partly lack of control, whatever, right? I'm going to own it. But it's a continue. But that's me being conscious, right? Imagine people that are completely unconscious, just grabbing every single thing off the shelf that's possible. All you've got to do is look at who are the biggest global multinational companies: Pepsi, Danone, Coca-Cola, Unilever. Now, all of these are big customers in the sector I'm part of, right?
That's right.
But we need to get really curious around who and what does this whole hegemonic structure serve? And in the end, it isn't the 99% of people on the planet. It's shareholder primacy. It's profits that are getting it. And if you look even in the UK, Trina, and this is what Beyond Hegemony looks like. Beyond Hegemony is equal, just, inclusive, co-creative, based on sharing, right? It's not a massive, it's not Pollyanna. It really, really isn't.
No.
But what we're currently exiting is systems based on colonial thinking. They are oppressive, they are divisive, and they are what is literally falling out in UK politics at the moment.
Oh
And
my
in West
God.
and in US politics, like we're literally watching your son would offer infinitely better debate, constructive, reflective, forward-looking than most of these adult 40, 50-year-olds that are just desperate to cling onto power. It's unbelievable, Trina. It's unbelievable.
No, I keep an eye on it because, even though
So,
I'm American, it's all connected, That Sunak guy and that Silverman woman, I find it hilarious. They're both Indian descent.
it's like,
It's like, what does that tell me about the current structures? Who are the power players right now in that global scene? I know that India is part of it, and what I find to be interesting is that India is part of BRICS. Is everybody's talking about BRICS. I said I really don't understand the logic of championing another colonial or imperialistic country. Like, it's always this pick one or the other, but they're all the same. I don't see any difference between Russia, China, India, or South Africa. Maybe I like South Africa because they put Israel on blast. But all I see throughout history is the same mentality, the same people jockeying for power position to oppress.
yeah.
And us collectively going, okay.
But why are we going okay? Because the system's designed that whether you're on $1 billion per year, $1 million per year, or $10,000 a year, this is a really important point. Everyone's is conditioned to feel in survival mode because It's never ever enough. Whether it's $1 billion, $1 million, or $10,000, it's never enough because everything's been the marketing, the media, voting, everything's telling you will be okay when, not you are enough. And when we reclaim that power, back from the system, right? It's like, and that's what's happening now with the student encampments. It's what's happening with us on this call. Like, the most powerful thing on this planet right now, people, is you. Go inside, do the work, remember your power, use it in healthy decolonial community-based ways, and things shift like overnight. Like, literally, like I'm so like, I work
literally.
Honestly, Trina, I work with so many people and I'm watching them, right? Kids in private school, massive mortgages, lovely holidays in the Caribbean. I get it. It's wonderful. I love that for you. But don't whinge at me that you're not getting this, you're not getting that, or this isn't happening, or that's not. Like, calm down. Like, make your choice. Like, make your choice. Like, conform to the system, take the money and just switch off. And that's your choice. But don't complain then. Don't complain when it's falling apart. Be part of trying to make it better.
Exactly. And there's a reason why it's falling apart. Things fall apart when they're not sustainable. Nature doesn't fall apart. Nature does nature. When we get in the way of nature, then nature dies. Because we are trying to control what shouldn't be controlled. Instead of living within the nature of the cosmic world the way we should, we're trying, where few are trying, to command it and control it. And it's not going to work. It never has been. How many civilizations must fall before they get it in their psychotic minds that they can't control it? Because we're 99%, right? And there's this small percentage of hegemonic psychopaths out here trying to do the same thing over and over. It's not working. It's never been working.
Do you remember that Caucasian guy? Quite a clever guy. I think he was called Einstein. It's a definition of insanity to keep doing the same thing.
It was actually his wife.
Yeah. No. Probably was. I'm sure you're right. But you know what I mean? That, like, but it is bizarre that these systems that are falling apart are predicated on rinse and repeat of exactly the same thing and expecting a different result. No, it's not true. Expecting the same result, and then we're sitting here going, but why are you hurting the climate? Why do these people still feel oppressed? Why is all this damage happening? You're like, because we keep doing the same things, not wanting a different result. Einstein's quote is spot on, but those with power don't want a different result, and that's why things are collapsing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because what happens is that we get this collective awakening. I've been looking at this. It's like the uptick of rebellions, civil dissent. All of this comes at the time of another fall, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what they do, I don't know who they are in the bigger picture, or whether they is the matrix system or whatever theory that you have. But what happens is that they just say, okay, reset. And then the same people or the same entities keep that cycle going and on and on and on, you know? And so we are powerful if we go in, tap into that power and stop giving it away, you know? And just, God, I don't know how many times I got to say it, just stop, you know?
Just stop. How about some invitations, Trina? Like going inside means like you do a lot of work around trauma, you do a lot around coaching and helping people sense and feel into this. What are some practical invitations from you today to anyone that might watch or watch back to because to stop, right? I know, like my gorgeous wife, like particularly mums, like you're conditioned to run, because if you stop and give your time permission to stop and be on your own, my God, you're a shit mum. You're an awful mum if you take time for yourself. That's one of the patterns, right, of hegemony, is how dare you take time for yourself and rest, mother.
Well, being rested is being connected. That's what it is. When all these upticks of ADD, ADHD, other oppressive DMSR5 type conditions are due to the nature of go, 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 produce, 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 and we don't ever take the time to break. Because if we break, we become more aware. So one of the things, funny, I just had this exact conversation today. Before I got on this call, I had a client, and she said, how do I stop myself from being angry or lashing out when I really want to? How do I stop that feeling? Right? And I said, well, feelings are there for a reason. So you're not going to stop a feeling. You're going to feel a feeling. You mean, how do I not react in a way that makes you feel worse? Okay. Or makes you feel foolish or gets you arrested, whatever. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to breathe. It's the simplest thing, but it's something we don't do profoundly enough. We don't breathe. We pant. We are shallow breathers, I always say. And that's why in meditation, what do they say? Breathe in, recognize your breath, breathe out your problems, whatever. There's different techniques, okay? But the breathing is just paying attention to yourself, to your life, to your essence. So if anything, taking the time to breathe profoundly rather than shallow, recognizing, have I taken a breath today? And stopping and doing that. And it doesn't take a million minutes. It takes 5 seconds to just sit and take a deep breath and recognize and become deeply, profoundly aware of yourself. We're distracted from ourselves. So that's a practical thing. Go in by breathing and recognizing you're alive. You're alive. And that's it. That's a practical, simple thing. And I had my client do this today. We did some box breathing, which is just breathing in for a certain amount of time, holding it for a certain time, and then releasing it. Okay? Because I always find it's kind of what they do in scuba diving too, so that you can learn how to manage your oxygen tank. Okay? So she said, I haven't felt this relaxed in a long time. And I said, think about this. When you go to the doctor and the doctor says, take a deep breath. Why don't they just put the stethoscope on your heart when you come in and wait to listen? Because they can't hear the heartbeat because it's like shallow. So you have to take a deep breath to reset. And then when you go, it goes, doom, doom, doom. Blew her mind. She was like, I never even thought about it in that way. That's why they say take a deep breath, so they can actually hear your heartbeat reset.
Beautiful. Thank you for offering that, Trina, because I think, again, it just ties for me directly to the point that if we're not breathing, we're reacting and we're in survival.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're in survival, we don't feel confident. We don't know who we are. We can't constructively challenge, and we get scared to ask the big questions. So, like, I just want to take it right back to where we started, right? The terrible assault in bloody Rafah. What's going on in West Papua? What's going on in the Congo? What's going on in Sudan? What's going on all around the world? Our ability to come together and speak up collectively, and I'm still working on this and practicing, comes from a place of connecting to ourselves, as you said. Like, it isn't out there. The thing out there isn't going to help us.
Right.
We've got to go inside, and it's still far too uncommon, certainly in Western spaces that I frequent. So I really think that's a massive Beyond Hegemony paradigm, is we are all coming from that place of inside out first, collectively.
Right. Yeah. And we're indoctrinated to think that the action has to be something like war, or, I'm not saying that we will not have to stand up, but if we don't go inside of ourselves, we don't really know what we're standing up for. It's just an emotional reaction. And I always say that most of these leaders are just boys with toys, and they're invested in so much in their ego, and they avoid going in so much that they're just spewing out all their trauma on a very unconscious level, and so I don't know how to make someone like that change. I don't. I've never dealt with anybody on that level. But I do know from my experience, and thank goodness my success with a lot of clients, the ability to create a change is deeply embedded with your emotional state and an ability to feel the change that you want right now. So basically, if you want something to change, you have to go inside and feel the sensation of what that change feels like, and you have to see it become a reality. And feel the emotion, and feel the joy, and feel the peace, whatever it is. I have 3 phones, they're all beeping. So
You're popular, Trina. You're popular.
yeah, I've got a client right after this. So here's something, and I want to like end this with this little piece just to demonstrate what I'm talking about. Every day for about a week, I've been watching these videos called country living vlog, and it's in Azerbaijan. This old couple, little Russian couple, and they're up in the mountains of the Shandog Mountains. Absolutely breathtaking. The video has no voice, just the sounds of nature. And she's in there making bread, or she's doing something delicious. My stomach always just growling after I'm watching it. They're harvesting berries, and they're showing their cats and the ducks and the chickens, and you hear the bees buzzing. It is the most peaceful sensory journey. And one day I was just in this like blissful mood, just watching it, cheesing, going, this is so cool. Oh my God, look at that. That's so amazing. And I go, I want to go there. I want to go there. So for 20 years, I've been teaching English as a second language as a side gig, right? So I'm on all these different blogs. right? Like different websites. And I get offers a lot, in my inbox. Are you still teaching? Do you want to do here? Do you want to work there? So I traveled the world teaching English. That's how I did it before I had my son. I get a offer from Azerbaijan. I have never, ever gotten a job offer from there. Never. And I got 2 in 1 week. After me saying, gosh, and being in the motions and feeling the joy and just being so happy to watch this life of this cute old married couple that must have been married 30 years, doing harvesting, being human, in this beautiful atmosphere. And I was so into it. The universe just brought to me a couple job offers. I don't know if I'm going to take it, but I want you to know that everybody, single person listening to this live right now has that capacity. It's not magic in the sense of abracadabra, but it's you bringing your vibration up to a level and demanding what you want, but doing it from a place of joy. Let's everybody try that. So I want this crap in Rafa to end. I want there to be accountability. And I want everybody to take a moment and project, enjoy what would it feel like to have all those displaced people in their rebuilt homes, their families reconnected, the martyred people honored, and Palestinians getting the statehood and an observation of humanity that they have been deprived of for 76 years. How that would feel for everybody in the world. So I know I'd be happy. I'm happy with the thought of it.
It's a beautiful way to end, Trina. Thank you, anyone that joined or watches us back. You'll be able to find this on the podcast that Trina kindly curates and uploads onto Spotify and other areas. And let's keep everyone in our hearts all around the world that are in unnecessary conflicts right now, and let's keep these vibrations high as we can.
Right, and that goes out to Congo, Sudan, and Yemen, wherever you have been unjustly oppressed and harmed. I want you to know that I have so much love and compassion in my heart, because it could be us one day. It could be me one day if we don't change this.
Much love, one and all. Take care.
Bye.